Critic. Emily Dickinson's poetry demonstrates that meaning cannot reside entirely within a poem itself. So, what it is saying is that meaning, now, a little more obscure, of course, people who have humanities background, they're going to understand this a lot better, but we have to do our best no matter what the context of the argument is, right? So what it is saying is that Emily Dickinson's poetry demonstrates that meaning cannot reside entirely within a poem itself, but is always a unique result of an interaction between a reader's system of beliefs and the poem. So they're saying that it's not that the poem is going to have its own meaning, and that is going to be, everyone will understand it in the same way. Essentially what it is saying is that it is is always a unique result of an interaction between reader systems. So it is basically, what they're saying is that what a poem means to a reader depends on what the reader's belief system is as well, and of course what the poem says as well, right? So both the things, they together, the meaning is derived, right? And it is like a unique meaning is derived. Okay. And of course, any two readers from different cultures or eras have radically different systems of beliefs. So we are given that any two readers from different cultures, this is a premise given to me, data given to me, that any two readers from different cultures will have radically different systems of belief. So if the critic's statements are true, each of the following could be true except. So now we have to find that which cannot be true. Yeah, so I am looking for something which cannot be true, and there is only one statement. This is not a must be true, it is a cannot be, so negated, right? Shouldn't be true. Others could be true. Yeah, others are not necessarily true, they just could be true. Okay. Look at A. A reader's interpretation of a poem by Dickinson is affected by someone else's interpretation of it. Look, what I know is that it is not just the poem internally that decides what its meaning is, it is the reader also. Now, can a reader's interpretation be affected by someone else's interpretation also? I don't really know. I don't really have, much data on it. Let me just hold on. I'll think about it later, right? There isn't a lot of clarity that I have on this, right? So let's just we'll see about it. Look at B. A modern reader and a 19th century reader. So basically, they're telling us these are two readers with from different eras. They interpret one of Shakespeare's sonnets in the same way. Now, we know that this is not possible, right? Why? Because we are given that any two readers from different cultures have radically different systems of belief, and the meaning is a unique result of an interaction between a reader's system of beliefs and the poem. So we know that their systems of beliefs are different, so then the meaning that is derived by them will be different, right? They cannot interpret the sonnet in the same way. So we know that this definitely makes sense, right? So this must be false, this cannot be true at all. We have been given that they interpret it in the same way. That is not possible, because they are people from different era and their belief systems are going to be different. Is that okay? Yeah, so fine. So this I know is the answer. Basically, when I say cross, that means it cannot be true. So I definitely get this as my answer. But let me just look at the other options also, and I will want to just go and think about A once again as well. Yeah. C says a reader's interpretation of a poem evolves over time. Now, this could definitely be true. There's nothing in my argument which is against it, right? People's belief systems change over time. So, of course, it is possible the interpretation changes. So, this is possibly true. So, okay. The two readers from the same era arrive at different interpretations of the same poem given to us. That people have, different interpretations. So, that is fine. Again, yep, fine. Now, E, a reader's enjoyment of a poem is enhanced by knowing the poet's interpretation of it. Again, it is possible. I haven't been told that a poet's interpretation does not impact it, right? It could be. All I have been given is the poem itself, doesn't contain all the meaning. It is the interpretation of the reader. It is different because it depends on their belief system. Maybe if they know about the poet's interpretation, then they enjoy it more. In any case, enjoyment, the argument doesn't really talk about enjoyment, it talks about the meaning or interpretation, whatever. So fine, I'm good with this also, right? So now, if I come back to A, it says a reader's interpretation of a poem by Dickinson is affected by someone else's interpretation of it. Well, it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, here they have talked about by knowing the poet's interpretation, and I know that kind of makes sense. That's okay. And someone else could very well be the poet also. It could be anyone else also. That is also fine, right? Two people reading the poem together, then using their own belief systems to derive meaning and whatever. And one can impact the other the way they think, etc., right? So then I know that yes, this could also be true, so I'm going to let it go. And I have a very, very clear answer in B, which is supported by my argument that this must be false, and that is why this is going to be my answer. Does that make sense? Yeah, even if I start out being a little unclear about certain options, it does happen that I get some clue from the other options, why a certain option is correct or incorrect. Right? So here my answer is going to be B. Is that okay? Does it make sense? Any doubts here?